And without further ado, I'm going to introduce Mike McConnell, Alex Howard, and Amanda Silver, all very dedicated OAFM, ACFM members. They're going to make their formal introductions to you. I will spotlight the three of you in a moment after we get everybody here into the room. And over to you three for talking about the business part of the world that we need a little help with. So thank you so much for all of you for coming.
Thank you, Marianne. And yes, thank you so much for being here and for supporting Mike, Amanda, and myself. I am Alex. I have been an accredited family mediator with the OAFM since 2020. See some familiar faces on here, so thank you again for being here. Really excited to share with you what we have been working on for the last couple of years, actually. So
Thanks, Alex. I'm Mike McConnell. I've been an ACFM since 2014 and also an ACIM intergenerational mediation. Almost all of the work is in separation and divorce for me. And it's just a work that I love. I don't know why exactly, but I do.
Thank you, Mike. And I'm Amanda Silver. I'm also an ACFM and recently completed my child protection mediation. And I have my own private practice, as well as I work on the court roster. And I have learned a lot along the way about the do's and don'ts of starting a private practice. And I'm really, excited to share all of that knowledge with you today.
So we thought we would start with just a brief overview of sort of the history of what brought us to consider this. So as I mentioned, I began my practice in 2014 and had done training in 3 different organizations to get my accreditation and to bring myself to the point where I really felt comfortable and competent as a practitioner. What I very quickly discovered, however, was that none of the training that I did anywhere spent any time talking about how to actually generate a clientele, how to actually earn a living with it. Once I would get with a client, it was fine, but like, what do you do? Where do you go? How do you do this? So for the first, I'd say 8 years at least of my practice, I was pretty much flailing around doing a certain amount of volunteer work just so that I could look in the mirror and see a mediator there. And ended up with a business coach who was very, very helpful in providing me with some of the skills. And then in a number of co-mediations that I was doing with Amanda and Alex, the 3 of us ended up in conversations where we were all talking about like how we're kind of inventing the wheel, each one of us in our own practice, because we just didn't have any help along that way. And none of us came from a business background either, or a PR background necessarily. So got us thinking that, gee, what, now that we are actually doing better, why don't we put something together that could be helpful for other people, and put our brains together. And as Alex said, I don't really know exactly how long, 2 to 3 years anyway, in putting our combined experience of more than 20 odd years of practice experience together to try to provide support for people who are at the stage in their career that we were a while ago. And with that, did you want to show the little video that gives a bit of an overview? Alex, why don't you do that?
yeah, we've put together a quick overview, as Mike says, of basically what kind of a taste, if you will, a little teaser video. So here we go.
Or ready to launch your practice to the next level, this is the course for you.
Oh no.
With over 20 years of combined experience, we've done the hard work so you don't have to. Our program has everything you need to hit the ground running. Find your niche, build your brand, and get easy to use, ready to fill out templates for emails, MOUs, and so much more. The Launchpad contains 4 different modules that will help you build your private practice. Each module has dozens of templates in it that you can use to create your own and make them your own for your own practice. If you want a little extra with this course, you can sign up for a package that includes coaching. So you get one-on-one time with one of the 3 of us, and we help really coach you along the way to building your practice. There will also be group office hours, so you can come online and mingle with other people who are in a similar situation, who are going through the same struggles that everyone has when they are starting their businesses and building their practices.
Well,
Start building your future today.
All right.
here we go.
So, yeah, a little teaser about kind of what you would find in our course. Like literally from everything to creating an email signature to fully, comprehensive MOUs.
So I'm going to give a brief overview of what the modules are designed to do, and then Amanda and Alex will talk a little bit more about how it's structured and what's available. But we're actually hoping that this webinar is more than just a pitch; that it's actually giving you some suggestions that can be helpful for you as well. So the 4 modules themselves are structured in the order from right at the beginning of when you're actually just meditating and thinking about what am I going to do, all the way through to the end of actually networking with other professionals and so on. So the first of the 4 modules is labeled who you are, or who am I really, and that's the identity piece. What is my uniqueness? What is great. There we go. We got some focus. So what sort of a brand, what uniqueness do I bring to mediation that can be the focus of my brand? The second module is how you look. What we mean by that is the aesthetics of your presentation out there in marketing. So the logo, the website, and there's a lot of very specific support in what sort of marketing technologies and techniques to use to put yourself out in the world. So these first 2 modules are really dealing with the thinking and the work you need to do before the phone, to get the phone ringing, essentially. And module 3 and 4 are actually dealing with practice building once you've got the client. So module 3, we call it the sales here, or what do you say? So we've got how you look. Now we're actually interacting with a new potential client. None of the courses that I took ever did the sales call. They did intake sessions, but they were already a client at that point. How did they get to be a client? So we walk you through quite a number of modules to deal with the resistance that you might experience, how to build trust early on in those initial contact emails, as well as Zoom calls or whatever technology you're using. And then the final module we call Where Do You Network? And that's building alliances, first of all, with the clients themselves. In other words, your former clients, because they're going to be your primary, well, actually, Google's your primary source of referrals, but next to Google, it's your former clients. And then the alliances you build with the other professionals, the certified financial divorce specialists, the family lawyers, the business valuators, and the various other people that you interact with in your business. So the course is designed to help you think through and get ideas all the way through from the beginning to when you're launched.
Thank you, Mike. And further to what Mike said, the Mediators LaunchPad and Toolkit is just that. We are giving you the tools to start your own practice and continue on and make a successful practice. And through that, there are about 4 hours of video tutorials that line up with each module. And it's a really, what the beauty of the course is that you can go at your own pace. So it's meant to support the templates in the toolkit that we provide. So you'll be watching the video, you can pause it, pull up a template, and then figure out how to make it your own. And another advantage is that you can do what you want with these templates. You can brand them, you can upload them to AI and make them your own, change them. They become your property once you sign up for the course. Oh, yeah, Alex is just showing us.
Sorry, you spoke quicker than I was. Thank you. In addition to what Mike and Amanda have said, one of the things that I have found exceptional about our community is this willingness to support one another. Mediation Matters, for example, we're all here today. We're trying to learn. We want to learn from one another. We want to share experiences. There's this idea of peer support. And so in addition to both the templates that, as Amanda said, you will customize, you will own, you will use for all of your clients. You don't need to reinvent the wheel like we all did in our early days. In addition to that, in addition to the video that walks you through every single step that you could possibly need to start your business, to build your business, to launch a new business, is also mentorship. This is something that I believe so passionately about. Before I became a family mediator, I was running another business. I've been an entrepreneur pretty much from the get-go. And having a mentor, having someone that you can turn to when you have no idea. And I've been doing this for 5 years now. Mike was my practicum supervisor. I now take on interns for every case because I believe so much of this idea of when you're up against a wall, who do you turn to? So one of my favorite things is when my interns call me and they say, okay, I just got a new intake. I'm doing an intake. I'm doing a sales call tonight. What do I do? And I'm like, yes, let me support you through this. I have done so many. Here's where I've gone wrong. Here's where I have been successful. Here's how you can make it your own within the scaffolding of what I have learned. So all that to say, the other component that I'm really the most probably excited about for this whole course is this idea of mentorship. So we have a sort of 3-tiered kind of packages, if you will, for the templates. And one of that includes group coaching. So kind of similar to this, you have office hours. You saw that in the teaser video that Amanda was explaining, and you show up and we share and we talk about our struggles and we talk about our victories. And entrepreneurship can be really lonely sometimes. And so even if you just want to commiserate, or even if you just want to celebrate a win, why not do that with people who really understand the industry, the loneliness of entrepreneurship, the struggle, all of that sort of stuff. So group coaching is one aspect where, like I said, we either bring a file that somebody's struggling with, it's open Q&A, there's a theme, and then alternatively, if you're somebody who, like me, loves one-on-one support, wants to talk through problems or issues or concerns in a safe and supportive environment with just a mentor, we have that option as well. So there's like, go it on your own, here are your templates, here are your videos, have at her, or come join a beautiful community that we are building here. Or level even up is have one-on-one where, whether it's starting out and literally I don't even know how to build a website, to, okay, I've been practicing for 5 years and I'm still struggling to get clients. Or I'm a lawyer and now I want to do more mediation. What does that look like? Or a social worker or a teacher or whatever it is, right? For so many of us, this is our second career. And that pivot sometimes can be difficult, especially when you are later on in life. Where do you turn to? Who are your mentors? So we've really tried to hone in on the importance of community and on really supporting one another through all of this. I still turn to Mike and Amanda. We meet once a week to talk about, a lot of it was to talk about this, but also just to say, oh my goodness, you'll never guess what happened with this file. And to be able to really offload to have a sort of avenue for kind of self-care, right? The work that we do is really, really difficult, and it can be really emotional, and you do need a bit of a team behind you. So that is something that I, as you can hopefully tell from the way I'm speaking, really passionate about that. The fact that we have a practicum as part of, the learning of to be a mediator is so incredible, but it can sometimes also be really difficult to find a mentor. So we're trying to also close that gap in this whole industry. We were really fortunate, speaking of community, we have been incredibly fortunate with our various interns throughout our years of doing this. And one of the greatest outcomes for us, I think, was to be able to beta test this with some of those interns that we had worked with. So we had about a dozen of our past interns go through the templates, watch the videos, give us their feedback so that we can make it even better and continue to improve upon it. And we will continue to do that because we are in an ever-changing world, right? AI is such a new thing. How can we use that to our benefit while still saving the planet a little bit? As Amanda knows, my plight for AI. But how do we keep ever evolving and changing? So all of this stuff is organic. That's why the templates are editable. You can change it. You can change it for your client needs, for the needs of the ever-changing world. So again, all that to say, I would love if I could call on Michelle, who was one of our beta testers, to maybe give a little bit of her personal experience and feedback, so you can hear from some of your peers and it's not just us telling you how wonderful we are. Thanks, Michelle.
Thanks, Alex, and it's good to meet you and Amanda, kind of face to face. Mike, I did my internship with Mike, so we go back a little bit. Yeah, it's certainly not going to be a hard sell for me to say wonderful things about the Launchpad, and it was an incredible experience, one that I'm really grateful for, especially as a mediator that certainly has a lot of clinical experience and world experience in my other job, but had no idea around starting a business. And so really it was such a gift and an honor for me to be able to navigate the platform, which I would say is incredibly easy to navigate. It's very relatable. The presenters are very relatable. The language is just kind of easy and light. So watching the modules was certainly no hardship at all. It was very easy to kind of absorb all the information and take notes as I needed to. But I think just, one of the big things I'm not sure if I think it was you, Alex, that just said, just learning from your mistakes. I think all three presenters are all just very open and vulnerable about, yeah, I made this mistake. I shouldn't have done that. And that I think was it just was very easy to relate to that and appreciate that. The templates are just so rich with resources and services and what to do, and there's suggestions and insights. But again, I would just say that it just flows so nicely, and it just builds, each module kind of builds on the next. And it was an absolute, probably hopefully game changer for me as I launched. And I think as I started to look through the modules is when I was also building my website. So about the branding and what sets, like, just, like some of these sayings that you just kind of kept saying over, just kind of stuck in my head around what sets me out. And I'm like, well, nothing sets me out. And then it was like, well, I guess my experience, maybe that's kind of what I've got to really push here. Because as a new mediator, nothing is going to really set me apart, but that really struck home for me. And it was really a confidence builder and what does set me apart. And as far as my website and kind of finding my niche. And yeah, I would just say that it was just such a great experience. And I think for me, the building of the confidence around, okay, now what do I do? I've got my internship with Mike, which was great. I've got all my theoretical stuff. What do I do now to build this practice? And it really kind of just gave me that grounding, that foundation to kind of get out there and do it, follow the steps. And the Launchpad was just instrumental, I think, in that. So highly recommend it. I'm very grateful that I had the opportunity. And if there's anything specific, but otherwise that was my experience. So
Thank you.
Thank
That's
you,
so
Michelle.
beautiful.
That's
Thank you
great.
so,
Thanks,
so
Michelle.
much.
So now
Um,
Alex is going to show the website, I think, and run through some of the packages.
Okay.
I think I think that was
Yeah.
next on our agenda.
So we would I'm gonna put in the chat, of course, our website. We're gonna open it up for Q&A. This isn't a long presentation. It's really, as Michelle said, it really speaks for itself. It's very tangible. It's very approachable. It's really easy to follow along, and that was by design. This job is hard enough. We need to simplify, everything else and make it really easy to relate to and of course to use. So here really quickly is our packages. Amanda, do you want to put in the chat the
Yes.
website, which you can obviously all see right now? So like I said in RE, the coaching, you have the self-starter, that's you just buy it, you're good to go. The middle one is this group, sort of collaboration idea with the peer support, the group coaching. And then the powerhouse is the one-on-one. So you can see all of the things that are offered in each one. Everything kind of comes with it except the additional coaching that is an add-on. And we have people who buy the first package and they're like, wait, no, I desperately need the coaching and I want that peer support and they're hungry for it. So there's always ways to customize, etc. after the fact. And then very quickly, not to make this too salesy, but we are so grateful for the support of this community and for all of you being here today. We are offering a promo code that Amanda's going to put in the chat as well, which is OAFM15, and that's 15% off if you want to purchase, if you want to support this. Please also, maybe Amanda, you can put in our contact info. You're more than welcome to reach out to any of us at any point for anything. But I would now like to open up the floor to any questions. We're more than happy to answer. And then if there aren't too many questions, we'll hand it back to Marianne for the regular mediation matters.
there's always questions, I'm sure. I'll unpin you because then we
Thank
can all
you.
see each other.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank-
Just who wants to be last? Oh, it's you.
Thank you,
There you
Mike.
go. Okay. There. So we're all together now. All right. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question if you wish. You can also use the chat. It'll go to all the co-hosts only.
Perfect.
You can see that.
Yeah, I think what we really try to address is kind of all of those pain points as you're starting out, right? Where do I find clients? How do I market myself? One of the best things, the best business advice I was given years ago, not even mediation related, was if you actually can funnel down to a tinier niche, you can actually do a better job serving
Oh,
the clients that you want. A lot of people think that there needs to be this huge umbrella. I can do any kind of work. I can mediate any kind of file. I can work with anyone. I don't find that to be true. Obviously, I'm open if anybody wants to play devil's advocate. But if you actually hone in on your ideal client, some in the business call it your avatar. Like imagine your most ideal client of who you want to work with. And it's a little bit manifesting. It's a bit woo-woo maybe for some, but you put that out there. That's the person you're looking for. There is enough business to go around, folks. Let's be honest. People are divorcing, people are separating, people are having struggles with aging parents and siblings and whatever, your specialty is in family mediation. And so there's enough work to go out there. And so honing in on who you actually want to help and who you want to support, it literally fills your bucket in a way that you're getting so much more out of that because as Michelle alluded to, you have this confidence because these are the people for you, these are the clients for you that you can best serve. So you're really also building your confidence in the business sense. But again, how do you get that? How do you know? Where do you find those people? That's the problem that we're really trying to solve here so that mediation can become way more prevalent than it even is. I'm sure you folks all find, okay, well, I'm going to go get a lawyer if I'm getting divorced. Well, no, there's this whole other category of people, of mediators that want to do that kind of work. And so by lifting up our entire industry as well, by raising the bar of the kind of work that we're doing and the clients that we can support, to me, it's a bit of a rising tide floats all boats sort of situation. So anyways, that I'm rambling now. That was the best advice I was given. So that's in our first module is find your niche. Who are the clients you want to work with? And then how do you go get them? Any questions? Because I could literally just keep talking.
I was just going to add to what Alex said, which was once something that I experienced, early on was, okay, I finally got that client. And then I would get into a panic. Okay, what do I do with them? Right? I have to send out an intake form. I don't have an intake form.
Yeah.
Right? I have to do a
Yeah.
sales call. What do I say? What information do I need? And so I would have to then, run around to try and figure all this out as I went. We're just handing it to you. It's literally turnkey, which would have helped me so much if I just had those templates ready to go.
Yeah.
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 And one of the pushbacks that I've received is, well, nowadays can't you just Google? Like I literally had a pushback from a client, not even from a fellow mediator, but they were like, oh, I just Googled and I pulled up this separation agreement and I think we can do it on our own. We went through it, we looked at it, and it was like some, template from Utah, like it is American law. Like you just have to be really weary about what is available online these days. And so
Yeah.
we are still the experts. We are still the experts in family law, in mediation. But here is these, the templates that we use every single day in our private practices. We know that they're founded in Canadian law. We know that they're up to date. You're not going to get, something strange in there that could affect your brand, your reputation, et cetera, et cetera. These are literally the tools that we are using every single day in our practices.
And I want to add the AI component, I think is important here because everyone now is using ChatGPT. It's part of our life and all the other Claudes and I don't know, all the different AI components. But what we found, and I'm sure you have when you've used it yourself, is that the more information you give it, the better it is, right? So we're not saying, oh, don't use ChatGPT. We're saying, feed the templates in, give it the information, give it the content. So you're not ending up with some Utah law and getting yourself into trouble when you're in the mediation, right? This is so you're providing chat with that information and then, making it your own.
Mm-hmm. I love the AI component. I think I presented with Amanda Reese last week at our Family Peacemakers conference on AI and how we can use it. And it was a really a well-attended presentation. So I think we're all sort of very interested in the use of AI. And you're absolutely right. One of the things that we talked about was sort of garbage in, garbage out, and what you can create your own account for ChatGPT, which is more of the preferred method for a little bit more security, although there's lots of confidentiality risks that you could watch the presentation for. But essentially like thinking about like what goes into it. And if you can create this good knowledgeable ChatGPT relationship with your ChatGPT, which we recommend naming so you can talk about your ChatGPT. And then if you fed it all of these templates and these things, it would start to learn and provide you with information. Now, always with ChatGPT, you're editing like a fiend, right? And it sounds like with your templates and everything you're providing there, you don't have to worry about that. They've been pre-vetted by you, which is really nice. Yeah.
And you would only be feeding in redacted. You wouldn't be feeding something in that's got any
100%.
confidential information. They would be boilerplate templates that then get improved because that's what you're looking for, is something that you can then have in your resource kit to use for any future clients. It wouldn't be specific to any particular client.
Mike, I would love for you to share a little bit about some of the email templates that we've included. Because for me, I find, I don't know about you folks, but I write or used to write the same email like 20, 30, 40 times.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much for your inquiry. Here are my rates or whatever, right? You're doing it constantly. So Mike, I'll let you take it away. I promise I'm going to stop talking.
A lot of the templates are items that I had created. So one of there are 66 templates or something. I think including the links, I think there are like 90 something in the toolkit. But one of those is the email reply list, which has within it 30 different emails. So within just one of the templates, and that is from the first contact where the person reaches out and says, hi, are you open for business? Or, asks a question. What's the response to that? All the way through the entire process to the end. So, and they're subdivided into the before the initial contact, before you've actually met with them. We work in Zoom in other words, by remote. And then once they've become a client, the emails that go back and forth while you're working with them, the retainer renewal invoice, for example, the language that's going to go with that when you're asking them to renew their retainer with you, all the way through to the end when you're asking them for the Google review. Which, by the way, since we don't want the, I mean, obviously there's a sales component to what we're doing here, but I really want to be sure there's something that you walk away from today that can be a piece of information that's hugely valuable to you. And I'm going to tell you the number one, and that is Google reviews. All right. When you climb up the ladder of Google reviews, it doesn't even matter if they're 5-star. We want them 5-star, but it actually doesn't matter. Google ranks you not only by how many reviews you've got, but how promptly and professionally you respond to them. So I was told by my business coach, no, Mike, don't worry, because I got a 1-star. And it was, I was pretty devastated. She said, no, just as long as you're providing a quick, positive, respectful response, as far as Google's concerned, that provides evidence for them that these aren't purchased, these are legit. Right. You do have to do a bit of work with Google before Google will acknowledge your existence and allow you to have a Google business profile. So get a Google business profile and ask your clients. And I've asked friends and family. Okay, don't pretend you're a client. Just talk about aspects of my character that you think would make me a person you would trust. Write a review for that. When I didn't have clients, but I just had my coach, flogging me with advice. I was doing that, and it really makes a difference.
Yeah, thank you. Haley, you have raised your hand. Oh, yeah.
Thank you. That's great information. So I guess I'm just so not good with reviews. How would they do it anonymously? Like I wouldn't want their names on stuff.
Yeah, I've had some clients who are pretty techie figure out it can be done, but Google doesn't make that easy. Like with Yelp, so it's different with different companies. I haven't had great success with Yelp because people write glowing reviews and Yelp immediately pegs it as phony, right? So you know what? You're not allowed to ask for reviews from Yelp. Google encourages you to actually request a review. They don't consider that problem. You're not allowed to pay for a review, but yeah, it's tough for it to be. They can put like TA. I don't
Their
actually
initials,
know
I
how
think.
they make it. There's
Yeah.
some way that they can
Yeah.
make it a little bit anonymous, but
I've seen people use their initials. They were able to do that, which
yeah,
provides a level of anonymity.
but I think they had to do some tweaking, if I understand correctly. Like I don't know if they had to create a new Google account with just their initials or how exactly they were able to do it. But I think the whole point that Google is trying to make is that these are not anonymous. Therefore, legitimacy can be assured because they're putting their actual name. And that's one of the reasons why, I mean, I fully respect with, look, if you get 20 to 25% of your requests actually converting into reviews, that's amazing. Okay. Expect 10%, but just ask everyone.
And it also doesn't have to, if you are concerned about confidentiality and anonymity, it doesn't have to be requests to clients per se. It can be colleagues. It could be mentors. It could be interns that you've worked with. It could be a financial analyst that you've worked with, a family law lawyer who has no problem putting their name, on your mediation, review. So that's also a very important part of it as well.
Thank you.
and for it to be reciprocal.
Yeah.
I've had a number of lawyers do that, and then I just offered to do the same for them, because at that point I've worked with them,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it has to be, for it to be authentic, it has to be someone that actually you have had, some meaningful contact with. But absolutely, as you say, Amanda. Great question. I'm sure once the questions start, we're gonna have a flood. So let's just allow some space for people to actually put their hands up. Actually, Alex, you've got your hand up. Is that up from before, or did you want to?
Me, Alex?
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
dear.
I don't see her
Okay, is
hand.
that
don't
just,
see your
well,
hand.
no, that's my cursor. I'm just so untechy. I'm so untechy. That's hilarious. That is.
Oh,
Oh,
I love it. This
oh,
is why a team effort was really helpful. We really brought in our
Oh,
strengths,
I
and
did not do any of the technology on this. We'll just.
Mary Ann has her hand up
I
though.
have my hand up.
Yes.
I was wondering about your comment about developing a niche and servicing clients that way. And, I started this over 20 years ago, and I mediated anything, anywhere, anytime that would walk, talk, anything that anyone asked me to do. I mediated in business and all sorts of fun locations. And if any of you know me, I once got bit by a dog during mediation. I mean, it was just hysterical. Like the stories are very funny, but I think it was my enthusiasm to like just pepper the market in as many ways as I could. I am interested though in thinking about a more bespoke approach, and wondering like what advice would you have for people who are like, well, I wonder what my niche is. What would you say to them?
Where have your passions lain? What work have you done? Because whatever your prior, so many, almost every person I've worked with in this field is coming to it from having worked previously in some other field. If you were a fireman, there were conflicts in the fire department. If you worked in the bank, there were issues with the public, issues with, and that community is going to need conflict resolution services within it. And there will be family members within that community that trust you because you're a banker or a fireman. But now they recognize they've got some family issue. Your question is like, I've wrestled with this so much. Only recently, I actually brought in a professional PR person to look at my website. And I mean, he was a character, and he was full of, he just looked at the website and he says, Mike, you're trying to be everything. You're marketing to schools, because my background is as a teacher and a private school person. You're marketing to workplaces, because when you were at St. Stephen's, you were doing workplace stuff. I look at your website, I don't know who you are. What are you actually doing? Where do you do most of your work? And I said, separation and divorce. So he said, let it be. If anyone calls you from a school, of course you're going to do the work.
Mhm.
But when they're scanning 20 different websites to find out who they want to phone, we want them to see your website and believe that you are an expert in that area. And I don't know. These are marketing people, right? I honestly don't know whether it works but it certainly, I've had more calls since he weaned my website down, as Alex had said at the beginning,
Yeah, think of it as a funnel. I always say it could be, again, going back to the fact that this work, it can be really challenging, can be quite emotionally draining. People always laugh and I'm like, yeah, I spend my days helping people fight basically and dissolve their relationships. Like, it can be really taxing. So when I think about what kind of work I want to do, who I want to help, I just reflect on, when do I feel the least drained, right? When do I feel the most fired up? When I help a certain client, I actually derive a lot of pleasure from that, of being helpful, of being useful. So I always reflect on, even like, and daily, weekly with my clients even, who drains me, or what kind of work drains me, and what kind of work fuels me. And I think if you start there, going back to what Mike said, we're all coming from different backgrounds. Even if this is your first career, you still had a life ahead of this. You went to school, you had hobbies, or hopefully still do. But what excites you? Because so much of the work that we do is also balancing a lot of self-care. And I think if you're constantly, forcing something, like a square peg round hole kind of mentality, it's going to be really difficult. I too did a lot of work with St. Stephen's, again, in your early days as you're trying to build confidence and gain experience and give back to the community. And I was like, I don't think I can listen to neighbors fight anymore. I don't think I have it in me. I don't think this is the work that I'm meant to do. But for me, as a child of divorce, I am like, how can I help these kids? How can I protect these kids? How can we make sure that we are constantly child focused? So a lot of what I want to do is work with clients who have children, who I think my skill set, my passion, my life experience can best serve. So really just do a deep dive into, like I said, what fires you up, what excites you, and then channel that into a client. Great question. Thanks, Marianne.
Yeah, I love that. You know what it makes me think of is when we first started, Mike, you said, I love what I do. I'm not sure why I love what I do. And I thought we could do a whole hour on that. Why do we love the practice of family mediation if that's what you're doing? And I would love to hear more about why people love what they're doing from the audience. Neeraj, you just put your face up there. Does that mean you want to talk? I called you out. I'm sorry.
I don't want to answer your question. Hello, first of all,
I never.
but I don't know if I want to answer your question. But I just loved what Mike and Alex just said about that deep dive, because recently I was looking at my referral list for parenting mediators, and it's quite a long list now. And I want to actually go and talk to everyone on my list and say, what specifically is your passion or passion, expertise, or interest in this particular area? And it's amazing, like talking to some of these parenting mediators, they'll say, I work specifically with autistic children. I work specifically with men who feel that there's parental alienation. I work specifically with low-income folks. That's really helpful for me as a referral, as a person who refers to parenting mediators. So that's what I want to say.
Thank you for sharing that. That's exactly it. And the more specific you can be with your niche, the more referrals that you can then receive, because you're now known as, the, mediator who works with children with autism. That's great. That's very niche. I don't have that skill set. I too would like to refer out to that person, even though I can do parenting plans in my sleep. That's not my expertise. And in fact, I would be doing a disservice to those clients by pretending that I am. Like, I love now farming out, NFPs that are super complicated. That's not my expertise. Grade 11 math was a real, breaking point for me, where I realized this is just not my skill set. And so why wouldn't we? We are in a service industry. Why wouldn't you want to be the best at what you do and then support others who are the best at what they do? And that's all through community, and that's all finding and honing in on exactly where your strengths are. And it's not easy. It does take some time, but it's worthwhile exercise for sure. Thanks so much for sharing, Neeraj.
I want to just pick up on what Neeraj, so imagine the person who is working specifically with, men who are worried about alienation or autism. That person now knows their passion. That's module 1, figuring out your identity, your brand, what niche you want. Step 2 then is, how do I ensure that I get clients that are of that demographic? Because it's one thing to say those are the people I want to work with. And so a large part of what we're giving examples and templates for is getting out there, writing blogs, doing podcasts. I'm really, most of my work is with quite low conflict clients. And so my lawyer friends are, what are you doing with these? How do you get these people? Our people are like all on the verge of going to court. And where are you coming with? Well, I wrote a book called The Yoga of Divorce. because yoga was got me through my divorce. And so that approach worked for me personally. And that's where I feel best, is when I'm helping people to actually, because they're going to be co-parenting. So I want these people to be able to, these go separate ways. You don't have to like one another really, and you don't have to have the same parenting style, but there has to be enough respect for the legitimacy of the other person. But there are ways to, especially nowadays, that online stuff is time consuming, but it's not expensive. Like, we can get out there into the digital world without having to pay, like, 30 years ago, you had to pay giant PR firms to if you didn't have deep pockets, you couldn't really market. And now you can, but it's very time consuming. But this is the thing, early on in the career, I look around the room, I realize very many of you are not early in your careers. You're people who are actually very well established, but maybe wanting to scale it, or tweak it, and get more targeted into who your clients are. So it doesn't have to be that you're just starting off, but when your calendar is got a lot of dead space in it because you are starting off, then you've got time to do that writing, to do that, you get yourself writing blogs or podcasting, or doing whatever you can to find an audience.
Anyone else willing to share why they became a mediator? I'm so curious. I always laugh because I'm a middle child. I spent my whole childhood mediating my siblings, and so it's just sort of like my birthright almost. But if anybody wants to share, I mean, Q&A time is whatever we want it to be. So I mean, I'm always curious why someone chooses to listen to people fight all the time. Am I gonna have to pull a Marianne and just call on people?
I think you might.
Hi.
I think you might.
Good idea.
Okay, I'll go first.
Hello.
Yes, Rob.
Yeah.
You were my first call, so I think you
Well,
knew it.
I'm really here because I owe a debt of gratitude to Mike McConnell, because he wouldn't take me on as an intern. He says he doesn't take male interns. So he handed me to Alex Howard. So I owe you a huge debt of gratitude for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. It's so good to actually see you for the first time.
Yeah, exactly. We finally
welcome.
get. Thank you.
Yes, that's great.
Yes. So I also was an educator. I was a high school teacher for about 27 years. And then my wife went and got her master's of education. So I got jealous and decided it was time to go back to school. And the thing, I mean, I looked up my Myers-Briggs personality, and it said that I was a mediator. So I thought, well, maybe I should investigate mediation. But I mean, I've always wanted to do some kind of, I mean, I went to Queen's originally to become a clinical psychologist, took a detour and became an English major. But you were talking about your passions, and one of my passions is theater. That I've directed about 25 plays. And as a theater director, I learned early that you never tell anybody to do anything, because if you tell an actor to do something, they will forget. But if you ask questions like, why are you standing there? What's your name? Who's that? They would then be engaged and then remember. So, when you're directing a play, you get into this interesting liminal space where you're really focused on listening without interrupting. But if you need to interrupt, you interrupt. And then and you're working from a script, and you're trying to give respect to the script. So that's, I think this is a lovely analogy to the whole process of mediation, because what I get is the script is about parenting and finances, right? And then I get to listen, and I try to ask lots of questions. So anyway, that's why I'm doing this.
You nailed it. That's perfect.
Thank you so much for that. That's I think it's first time I've heard someone who came from there. Oh, we got hands up here. Michelle.
So, I come from a long history of child protection, where I was a supervisor managing an incredible group of clinicians, bright, committed, just an incredible team, but ultimately the decision making is so heavy, and you feel, and certainly in child welfare, there's so much trauma. There's just so many layers um, of trauma experience, generational, all sorts of things. And you know that any decision that you're going to make, sometimes there's no good decision. And each one, you go this way, that, a kid could be traumatized, you leave the, you can imagine.
Oh,
And it's just so, so heavy. And for me, but it's not the mediation kind of called to me when I decided to leave child protection a few years ago, in that I can manage high conflict. I can manage, heavy, high emotion. I just don't want to make the decisions anymore. And so for me, people coming to me, and as I said, whether or not they're explosive or grief stricken or all sorts of, heavy duty feelings, and I can manage. I'm totally comfortable with all that, but I don't want to make a decision anymore. And so it just seemed like a nice kind of segue into using the skills that I have, and the experience, and just helping other people make the decision, and me being able to step away. Because when I remember my last day in child welfare and walking out of there after 30 years and going, I never have to make a decision, a heavy, heavy decision again. And that, while I miss all the families, I miss the work, I miss so many things, that was such a lift for me to be able to walk away from that. So yeah, I think kind of helping families, working with families, but removing myself from the decision making was what brought me into this field.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, look, there's, however many of us on the call, this is a tiny slice of all the mediators that are out there. And already there's so much diversity. Already there's such a, varied skill set. And that's what makes us as a collective incredible and so powerful in our missions to support and help these families. Thank you both, Rob and Michelle, for sharing. It's so fun. We can find, if you find what really inspires you and excites you, and the work, I find personally, gets a little easier, and you can really develop and hone in on your skills, and again, give the sort of best version of yourself to all of your clients. So, all right, well, I mean, any other questions, Amanda? You want to say something?
Someone in the chat just asked a question about the code, and they just want to know how long it's going to be available for. And so I
Oh,
wanted
great
to put that
question.
to Alex Howard, because she is our code creator.
Yes, it is up for one week.
Okay.
1 week and 1 week only. Get it while it's hot. But also just email me if because I am also the technological wizard, but that's not saying much. So please email if you have any troubles.
no, that's
And the
very
website
kind of
has our
you.
contact form and everything, so you shouldn't run into any issues finding our info.
I think Mary Ann's got a hand up.
I just wanted to add, like, the when I was thinking about the business, and just in case anyone hasn't heard, my two top tips. One is scarcity, which is when you're first starting out and someone mentioned their calendar is sort of like, has gaping holes in it. I one time I wasn't able to meet a client's needs in terms of timeline, and they became very interested in my services, and I thought, oh, maybe this is
Uh-huh.
like, I am the last carton of eggs on the shelf, and everybody wants me now. That helped me early on, is sort of not giving dates that were, I'm available tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. That helped.
Yeah.
And then the second thing was a bit of advice from now Justice Seema Jane, who said, make time after you meet people to draft.
Yeah.
And that was the best piece of advice, because then you don't have to remember, then you don't have two jobs, drafting and remembering what the heck happened. Because my note taking is terrible for anyone who's seen me scribble. And it gave me a lot of structure to my role. So when I mediate, then I immediately have time afterwards to draft, which has me sitting in front of the TV drafting till 11, because I mediate at night. But it seems to
Oh,
work, and I am still in the camp of loving what I do. So I wanted to make sure I shared those two tidbits with you.
yeah, that's a great tip. Yeah, and you
Yeah.
wanna also just carve out time, right? We sort of delineate between working in the business and working on the business. And in the
Yeah.
beginning, you have all of this time to work on the business and to grow it and to do things like Mike was alluding to, blogs and, whatever, because then you have no time and you're servicing your clients. And so you need to kind of find that balance. So time blocking we go into, for example, in one of our
Yeah.
modules to support that. Because
There
yeah,
you go.
And
that's really important.
I think Sam Zawinanook
Sandra,
has his hand up too.
or her hand up.
Her, sorry.
Sandra,
No,
or
Oh,
whatever.
Sam had the hand. up as well. I think there's a few hands.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes, hi Sandra. Sandra, your
Okay.
Zoom name is creating a
Oh.
lot of fun over here.
Yeah.
Sandra Southwind is our board member, and lovely to have you here, Sandra. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Okay, I just wanted to say that as I've been listening, it's very interesting. I wanted to ask something about the templates, and I'm sorry I'm driving. I have to get an oil change on my truck. So the templates, like, are we able to kind of manipulate them? Because I
Yes.
do a lot of mediation with First Nations people,
Mm.
and I would want to have, like, you know, what First Nation they're from and that kind of thing. So I was just wondering, you know, if there was a way to manipulate them. Like, I have forms that I've developed myself, but you know, if
Yeah,
we
you
could.
can download them in a Word version, and they become yours. And so if you want to update it with the First Nations clauses or information, they're yours to do what you want with them. Obviously, we ask that you don't share them because
No,
you know, right? But
no,
they're
I
yours to
understand
do
that.
what you want. That you can make them how you wish.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know, I always you know, when somebody asks me why I do mediation, I have a passion for child welfare, so I'm no longer in child welfare anymore. But one of the things that I remember years ago, I went to a presentation by Bill Eadie, and I bought his books. And one of the things that he said that I use all the time is that he said, why would you allow a stranger, meaning a judge, make a decision for your children? That should be up to you to make that decision. And I use that all the time when I talk about mediation to people. And, you know, because I deal with a lot of people who are struggling, you know, family relationships and and things like that. And, you know, that was one of the reasons, you know, when I heard him say I was already doing the training that at that time. And, you know, I thought, wow, this is such a powerful, you know, it was so powerful at the time. And, you know, it really made me want to do this here even more. So I just wanted to add that. Thank you for listening.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing.
And
So
Neeraj has his hand up as well.
I just wanted to give a shout out to you, Amanda and Alex, for your very cool podcast, which I had the pleasure of watching a few of your episodes, and I thought it was so stylishly done. So
Thank
check it
you.
out, especially the one about with Dr. Barbara Lando. I thought it was so nicely done. So thank you for that.
That was the honor of a lifetime to sit down.
A career high for us was to be able to interview a true legend in the field.
Yeah, but thank you for listening. I really appreciate that. We do have a lot of fun. And again, right, find what you're good at, find what you're passionate about. We get the opportunity to teach people about what mediation is, what separation is, what divorce looks like. So there's so many barriers to entry when it comes to separation and divorce. And so that's certainly our tool to keep people sort of informed and educated. But thank you. Yeah, Barb, she was amazing. Oh, I'm gonna dine on that for a long time.
I'm gonna put the link in the chat.
Yes,
I'm
I
gonna
was
share
gonna
the
say.
link in the
Okay,
chat.
good. I want to hear it. That's good.
Thank you.
That's amazing. Well, thank you all so much for being here. You had a big audience. I think we're all very interested in the business of family mediation and the Launchpad. We wish it much success and welcome you back here next month for Mediation Matters. We do have on June 19th the ACE FIDRIO Summer Social event. You'll see ads going out about that. If you're in the GTA and you want to come and hang out in person, we'll all be at a restaurant that's name has evaded my mind right now. But if you want to know about it a little more, it's June 19th, and we are honoring Juneteenth Day as well as coming together to as a community of practice to support each other and to talk and chat and
in person, am I right?
in person.
In person, old school.
In
Old
person,
school.
yeah. Old
Okay.
school, yeah. We're in person if you're in GTA. I know it's on the Danforth. That's all I know, and it's subway accessible, very subway accessible, right on the line, on the Bloor line. All right.
Thank you so much, Marianne. Thank you all for being here. We really appreciate your support.
Thank you.
And please feel free to reach out if you have any questions about any aspect of the course. Please feel free to reach out to either of us. I put all of our emails into the chat as well as the promo code and the link to the website as well.
Yep. And if you forget anything, you know where to reach me, director@oyfm.on.ca, and I will see you next time.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Okay. Have a great afternoon,
And thank you,
everyone.
Marianne, for having us.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it's our
Marianne.
Yeah, I
pleasure.
really
Thanks.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks,
Thank
Alex
you, Mike
Howard
McConnell.
and Mike. Yeah.
Bye.
Take care. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye. Okay, I'm going to stop recording. There we go.